Hello all, my name is Robin Miller and I'm Director of Channel for IOTSA. And for anybody who's watching who's not aware or familiar with IOTSA, we are a security services association that is dedicated to bringing cybersecurity content and education from leading vendors and experts in the channel to MSPs. And I'm very excited to have three of our sponsoring vendors on the panel with me today. So I've got Amy Luby, Chief Channel Evangelist with Acronis. We've got Monika Gupta, who is VP of Marketing at Huntress, and Jennifer Bleam, VP of Biz Dev for Solutions Granted. So thank you ladies for joining me today. Star-studded panel, I'm excited. Just want to talk with you guys about what it's like for you being a woman in the channel, a woman in cybersecurity, learn how you got into this industry, and our audience is not going to be just women but also men who are looking to support women getting into the channel, support women who work with them, for them, alongside them, and it's just a great organic conversation to help continue how we can better support women in the channel. So to start the conversation, I'd like to just go around and ask everybody, how did you get started in this industry? And so Amy, if you want to go first, love to hear from you.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks, Robin, for having us on. I appreciate it. This will be fun. So I got started kind of in a haphazard way. I was a stay-at-home mom for about 7 years, nurse prior to that. So my degree is actually in nursing. So, but along the way, I learned how to build databases way back when Borland's Paradox was the thing, before Microsoft Access. And anyway, I worked for a small marketing firm for a long time. And in building databases for them, I grew my skill set, eventually became an MCSE, those types of things. And then, I never had a plan per se to take it full time until my kids were grown. But way back when 9/11 happened, my husband at the time was laid off. Nobody was hiring salespeople. And the long and the short of it is, I eventually ended up starting my own business. Back then, it was an MSP. From the get-go. And so I did that for about 15, 16 years. I built 2 different MSP organizations and then sold the second one and came over to the dark side and started helping vendors build channel programs about 8, 9 years ago.
Nice. And what about you, Monika?
Yeah, thanks, Robin. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me. So I have a consulting and finance background, and I decided I wanted to get into marketing. And so I started in this marketing rotational program, just kind of joining different programs, seeing what I thought of different areas of marketing. And I landed in a team that was cybersecurity and fell in love with it. I just loved working in cybersecurity. I loved helping small businesses, large businesses, doesn't matter who, help protect their clients against threats. And so I decided that this was the home that I was going to stay in. And so I've been there ever since, working in different companies over the last 8 years in cybersecurity. But over the years, I've built a network, mentors helped me throughout the year kind of stay in the industry. But it's been a passion of mine to be in this industry, so I've really enjoyed it.
Now, so that was one of my questions too. I was going to ask everybody, do you have a mentor or do you mentor somebody? So you just said that you have had mentors. Is it anybody that we would know in the channel, or is your mentor outside of the channel?
Yeah, I think mostly outside, some within. I would say I've definitely had mentors throughout my entire career, whether when I was in consulting or when I made the shift to marketing and also cybersecurity. I've mentored and had mentors. I think it's such a key component of being able to kind of progress throughout your career. And then the other thing I'd mention is I've actually, something new that I've done within the last year that my company supported me in getting is a coach. So I know everyone's worked somewhere where they've had development funds. And historically I've used it. I'm sure most people have used it for conferences or books or things like that. And so this is the first time, credit to my boss, my CEO, suggested getting a coach. And So I looked around, found someone that was a good fit, and I would recommend it to everyone because it's been amazing to have someone to speak with. That's a woman that's worked in marketing, that's been a leader in other marketing companies. And so that's kind of the mentoring that I've been having more recently. And it's just been amazing to have someone to talk with directly about things, whether it's business challenges or being a woman in the room or anything else. And so highly recommend it.
That's awesome. And Jennifer, what about you?
So we're kind of seeing a little bit of a common theme here, but I was also as a stay-at-home mom, and my husband actually had an IT company. And so at the time, I just helped him with a little bit of bookkeeping and some filing. And we were a part of a franchise at the time. Very long story short, we exited that franchise, and essentially overnight, the phone stopped ringing. We had to figure out all of our own operations and marketing and sales. All of the things that the franchisor had taken care of was now on our backs. And I'm like, oh, I know this because I had a very deep background in sales. I had sold life insurance and health insurance and a lot of intangibles. And so I said, I can help with this. And that's really when I jumped in, and I would be a mom or a homeschool mom during the day. I try to be done by about 1 o'clock, and then 1 o'clock I'd put on my sales and marketing hat and work in my husband's business, and did that for years. And then about 5 years ago, I also jumped over to the dark side and became part of the vendor community. So been in this channel for quite a while. Love it. Love the MSPs, love the vendors, the relationships, and the cybersecurity side is just fascinating. So lots of fun, lots of things to learn for sure, always.
Awesome. And so we were talking about mentors and mentoring. Do you mentor anybody, or do you have a mentor?
So I just ended a coaching relationship a few months ago, completely outside of the channel. I love the brains inside the channel. I love the brain trust that's there, but I find especially valuable people that are kind of from the outside looking in. So I think sometimes we get a little too close to our own industry, and sometimes just having someone from the outside saying, well, that's really interesting. Why don't you do this? And or just helping you wrestle through the challenges of being a woman in a male-dominated industry. And so I found a female who was a success coach, mindset coach, and we had a year-long relationship there, and great coaching relationship, pushing me to step outside my comfort zone and reach new levels of greatness. I don't currently have a coach. Lots of people that I follow and I learn from, but no one that I'm formally coaching under right now.
Okay. And what about you, Amy? I actually have to admit that you are one of my mentors. So anytime I have, questions about, and not just about work, like if I have, I've known you for 17 years now. Just whenever you're always one of the first people I call, whether it's work, life, and just your advice is invaluable. So thank you. You do, play a very important role on that side. But I'd love to hear, do you have a mentor? Do you mentor?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Robin. One of the things I really love about the channel is just what you mentioned. There is a close-knit community of friends. And yes, we're business associates and we've got all got our jobs to do, but when you travel and work with someone as much as you do, like we all do, and I know this year hasn't been the travel year, but you can't help but get to know people. And so I love that. And it's been fun working with you, Robin, for all these years. You're an inspiration with your kids and everything else. But
Wow.
I've had several, I've been in this channel for about 26 years. I've had several mentors and I would call them advisors, both in and out of the channel, folks that I go to for different things, whether it's a challenge at work, whether it's a challenge at home or whatever. So, it's been an interesting journey throughout the years in doing so. But also, Jennifer, I want to mention, when we were growing our MSP business, my husband and I, we had 7 kids. So running the business together actually kind of made that, I wouldn't say raising 7 kids is easy, but doing it in a traditional way with a job outside of the home, I think would have been so much harder. We were able to piggyback, and we had what we called a nanny. We had several different women that didn't live in the home but worked full time for us. So between the three adults, we got stuff done. So, we just take care of it that way.
Yeah, I love that background, because I hear a lot of times, and my heart breaks for MSPs. It's generally the man that is running the MSP, and sometimes it's the wife that's not at all supportive and is saying, go get a real job, and just doesn't understand that entrepreneurial desire, the drive, the desire to serve the community, to build something for yourself. And so I love that my husband and I have that. I love that you have that in your past as well. And I do, my heart does break for a lot of the IT companies that don't have that. I mean, it's a rock that, you're united, and that will get you through a lot of stormy times. The life of the entrepreneur, it's ups and downs and loop-de-loops. It's a crazy roller coaster ride. But certainly having a partner that can be there with you and for you, and have a good day when you're having a bad day, can be very inspiring and very crucial to running a successful business.
Well, and that gives you a good insight in working with channel partners too. Having come from a channel partner business, literally living that, and, sweating payroll every couple of weeks, and trying to find good hires, and, when you got to fire somebody, how much that's hard, and so being able to relate to your channel partners when you're working on the dark side and the vendor side of the channel, is just really, really critical. So that's a great plus to have that in your background.
I agree. I've had people come up and ask me if I'll do, I would call it marital counseling, but they're like, you should do a consulting gig where you help, spouses who are, where they both are involved in the business. And I'm like, no. I'm not getting into the marriage counseling business. That's not my forte by any stretch.
Me either.
Now, ladies, I did want to ask too, given 2020 and everything that has changed this year, I wanted to know how your work-life balance has changed since COVID. Have you had to be creative with flexibility? Has your employer, given you that kind of flexibility? And I wanted to use my own experience as an example to start. My employers have been incredibly just understanding of, I've got 3 kids at home who are, I've got 2 in elementary school, 1 in middle school. They're all virtual learning. So I've got 2 upstairs right now, 1 downstairs. So at the start of quarantine, in April, I talked to them about, moving down to part-time and staying there as long as, there was this change in schedule and this change in schooling, and they were just completely understanding and roll with it. And, if I have a day where, we've got, something out of the ordinary, totally understanding of it. So I appreciate that, that flexibility and that understanding from them. So I was wondering, how has your employer shifted things? How have you had to change things? And I'd just love to hear, what other companies in the channel are doing and what other women in the channel are doing to, to navigate. Jennifer, would you like to go first? Or?
Yeah, I can go first. So I am blessed enough to be able to work from home almost all the time anyway. So I go into the office once a week, and there is a very gracious understanding that if that can't happen for whatever reason, right now it's like, I got a cough, or one of the kids isn't feeling well, or whatever. It can be anything. They're very, very gracious with, okay, I know this is the day you're supposed to come in, but go ahead and work from home today. I think the biggest change for me, and that I didn't expect, is the lack of travel, which obviously I knew that was coming, but as much as the travel wears you out, because you're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're on and you're smiling, and of course you're going to make eye contact with everybody, and you have to be happy all the time, and you're doing that until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and then it's rinse and repeat 2, 3, 4 days in a row. It's exhausting. And I expected it to be kind of like this little mini vacation. And instead, what I found is that time away from my family, that time away from my kids, as fabulous as my husband is, as fantastic as my children are, that break from them, even though it was exhausting, made me into a better mom. Because then when I came back, I was eager to see them. I wanted to hear about their day. So being around my family week after week after week was such a change. And that really surprised me.
Yeah. What about you, Monika?
Yeah, Huntress is remote based. So the founders at our company have built the company based on this idea of we want to find talent wherever they're located. And it was kind of based on the premise of we have life changes. You might have to move for different reasons, whether it's to care for elders or because you get married or you just want to live by the beach. So they've built the company in a way where we've been remote based. So that wasn't as much of a shift for us. But what I will say is a lot of our company, in our company, a lot of people have children. And so what I think we did really well was we were really transparent and open and direct and candid about the pandemic and how we knew it was affecting everyone for different reasons, whether it was childcare or teaching, or stress, mental health, all sorts of things that people are feeling. And so we created a Slack channel for communication and just for people to talk with each other and build support. But two, we were really vocal about do what you need to do at home. So whether that's taking care of your child, whether that's doing certain things to keep yourself safe and healthy, whether it was travel, which we obviously were very clear that no one was going to travel when it was unsafe. So that there was no stress or undue burden, especially in our sales team, to think that there was going to be an expectation to do that. So I think just being vocal and transparent and providing the support of that. But then the second thing to that is putting action to what you say. So you can say that, do what you need to do, but you have to make sure your employees are not negatively impacted by that, whether it's performance reviews or promotions or other things. And so backing your words with action, I guess, is key as well. And so that's kind of, the transition has been a little easier because we were all remote, but still hard because it's a pandemic. So everyone's obviously been incredibly negatively affected by this.
Yeah. And Amy, are your kids in school or virtual learning? What are you guys doing?
Actually, they all went back to school in August with the regular school year. So, they, at the beginning of the pandemic, everybody shut down, right? So everybody was home. But yeah, when school started up again, they're all students all day, every day. And that's all right. Frankly, my 2 school-age kids, I have one in middle school and one in high school. Both of them wanted to go back. Like, they were like, please, Mom, don't make us do the virtual option. Because we do have a virtual option. There are families that kept their kids home.
Okay.
So, I was like, all right, we'll just see how it goes. And, so far, so good. They've been fine. All the sports are back in play. And, it's kind of, you got to remember, though, I live in Nebraska. We're one of those rogue states, that didn't
every state is
legal
different
mandate. So, but we did all that. Our restaurants shut down, our bars shut down. We went through the whole thing. But I'll tell you what, the interesting thing for me was I started at Acronis in March. So I've only been with Acronis for 8 or 9 months. And so just when I flew out to Boston to be there for my first week. And then as I was flying home, that's when everything just shut down. So I was pretty impressed. Our CEO, we started in the very beginning, we were having daily meetings. It was kind of a state of the company type of a situation. They didn't last very long. But since we're global, we're in 33 countries. So we had teams of people in all these different places, and the shutdowns and everything that was happening, we were able to get a truly global idea of what was going on everywhere, which was super fascinating. And then our organization did things like, we had virtual yoga, and we had mindfulness classes and cooking classes, all these extra things, even activities for kids virtually. Because they knew, people are working from home. Now they've got young kids who, you can't just sit in your office and work for 8 hours and be on Zoom and ignore them. So I was really impressed with that, with how conscious our executive team was to what the home environment might be like with everybody on lockdown. So that was pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, I think that's very fascinating. Now, when you were learning about all the different offices and what they were going through in their countries, like, what did you learn? Like, was everybody as locked down as the US is, or, what?
Yeah, some were way more locked down than we ever were. Others weren't. I mean, you look at Switzerland and, look at different areas of the world that have had different approaches, right? And different levels of success or not success, if you want to measure it that way. But what I loved about what our organization did is it kind of used our leverage to bring experts in. We had scientists, we had people from major pharmaceutical companies coming to address our organization and help us understand how global pandemics are handled from a science and medical perspective. So we were just armed with so much information that, at least for me, the net result for me was, I never really felt panicked. I felt like, okay, we've got some really smart people handling all this, and we're all going to be okay. That was probably mostly what I learned outside of anything else.
I feel like that's the key with what Amy said, the panic. So I think it's one of the key things. It sounds like your company was great at helping you understand, educate on the medical aspect of it, but also just the panic and stress people have when your company's not vocal about how they're going to handle this or telling you that it's okay, then you internalize that. And so some, I've had employees on my team feel comfortable coming and bringing that up to me, but for every employee that speaks up, there's other employees that aren't comfortable talking about it. So the onus is on the company and the leadership to be vocal and transparent so that other people, can, to the degree that you can, reduce the stress that they're feeling inside, basically.
Yeah, that's incredible to have that level of awareness within an organization that, that your people, there's one person in one office in some remote part of the world that may not be okay, and to provide the support and information that they need to get through it. Plus, our company has been very much like, hey, if you need to take the afternoon off and homeschool, do it. Just get it done. We're not very stuck on you need to be working 8 to 5, just whatever your role is, as long as you're getting your work done, it doesn't really matter if you're doing it at 2 a.m. or 3 p.m. It doesn't matter. So that's been it's been a huge blessing, frankly, because not a lot of people have that at all.
Well, so I'm going to shift ideas or thoughts and get away from COVID. But it's no secret that, the technology industry, cybersecurity industry, is very heavy on the male side. And so I wanted to know, have you guys ever seen in your personal experience any biases, or how have you personally combated any biases in our industry? And then also any advice that you would give to women who are looking to get into the industry
So I have not really experienced much myself, but I think I'm the exception. I know it's there. I've seen it happen to other people. It's just never been directed at me. My advice to a woman that's considering entering the tech industry, there's something that happens for most women when they get to around the age of 40. I don't know what the magical age is. I'd be curious. I don't know if anybody else that's on is at or older than 40. But
no, I'm still 15 years away from there.
Okay, perfect. So when I turned 40, when a lot of my friends turned 40, all of a sudden we just owned ourselves. We just kind of stepped into our skin. We were comfortable with who we were. It was like, listen, this is who I am. Take it or leave it. If you don't like me, frankly, it's your problem, not mine. And it wasn't necessarily that we were being snotty, but it was just like, I'm not changing. Like, this is who I am. And
take it or leave it.
Yeah, just owning my own greatness and owning my own royalty, if you will. And that would be my advice. And again, there's something magical about getting to the age of 40 where you're just like, well, whatever. This is who I am. I'm not. Yes, I'm going to continue to grow and evolve, but the core of who I am, I'm not changing. And that would be my advice to someone who's stepping into this channel, the IT industry, cybersecurity, is just be you. You are the only you that there is. You have skills that nobody else has. You have a personality that is going to attract some people and repel others, and that's okay. I think the worst you can try to do is to be friends with everybody and to attract everybody, and you end up being this wishy-washy, lukewarm, icky outsider that's always on the outside of that dance floor because you're never comfortable in your own skin. So own who you are, expand into your greatness, and then just step in and make of your future what you want your future to be.
Good answer. And so I'm not 25. I did just turn 40 this year. I know it's shocking, but it's so true. And I did almost feel that, like, I don't have to impress anybody. I don't want to impress anybody, just myself. And I do feel like that just came on in the last year where I did have that realization and confidence. So good answer, Jennifer. Monika, what about you?
Yeah, there's not even just specific to tech industry, in all industries, there's a lot of bias, whether it's pay disparity, harassment, career progression, work-life balance. We're talking about childcare and other things, so being able to take care of things at home. So whether I've personally experienced some of that, which I have, there's also other things that I've heard about that other people have experienced. And then we're talking specifically about gender, but when you think about intersectionality and other backgrounds, there's all sorts of things that I have not personally experienced, but obviously others have experienced. So there's all types of biases, unfortunately, out there. My recommendation would be, you were asking about someone entering the workforce, like, I guess, guidance that we would have. And what I would recommend is a few things. One is to seek, we were talking earlier about mentors, but seek them out as soon as you can, because the fact of the matter is, the quicker that you realize that you're not alone in experiencing some of these things and you are able to talk to someone about them, you can, one, get guidance on how to handle something like that, but two, know when you need to speak up or make sure that you're not putting yourself in situations where you're uncomfortable. So finding people that have your background that you feel comfortable sharing with, that are in industries that you work in, is really important. And then two, I would say to feel comfortable speaking up, because I know when I entered the workforce, I was not comfortable speaking up about things for various reasons, because I didn't have context, because some things I thought were maybe normal, because I didn't have experience to know that that wasn't normal. And so not to be scared to speak up when you see something that's wrong, whether it's to your peers or to leadership. Leadership should be challenged. They're not always doing everything right, and they're often doing things wrong. And so you should feel comfortable speaking up and challenging that. And I would encourage asking questions, because I think sometimes we assume something's being done because it's been well thought out and that's how it should be done, but that's not always the case. So if you ask questions, you either learn something or you realize that, there's something that should be changed. And so either one's really good in terms of kind of furthering the progress on things.
And Amy?
Totally agree with all that's been said. I guess I would, the be yourself message is incredible. It's hard to do it on a day-to-day basis, especially if you're feeling not as secure in your position or whatever it is. But I don't ever hesitate to say something. I mean, even sitting in a boardroom conversation, if there is a derogatory term used or something that's sexist or whatever, I would not hesitate to be like, dude, what was that? And why did it belong here? And most of the time, these biases, just like what you're mentioning, Monika, is, they're kind of learned and they're unconscious, and we all have them. We all kind of share them, if you will. So as we each become a little more enlightened, a little more aware, we can help each other become aware without being bitter or mean about it or whatever. The other thing that I'll mention, and I didn't learn this term until my daughter, Mary, who's 16 now, and is probably the greatest feminist I've ever met in my life. I would never call myself a feminist, only because of certain biases that I have. But she enlightened me to the word horizontal hostility. And I see that everywhere. And all that really means is, infighting within groups, right? So you got a group of people like women or women of color or whatever the group is, and they can't seem to move forward in a recognizable way because they can't seem to agree on what the path forward is or the goal or whatever. So I would encourage women to be very aware of that. But then aside from that, being available to help other women. If you see a new hire, reach out to them, introduce yourself to them, let them know that you notice that they're there. Ask what you can do to help them, even if your roles are completely different or you're in different groups or whatever. Bridging those gaps can be a huge help, and frankly, a confidence booster for anybody who's coming into an organization or an industry that's new. Just being willing to talk and be there and answer questions.
All great answers. And Monika, I'd have to agree wholeheartedly that being a mentor, but for a woman coming into the industry seeking a mentor, it is probably one of my biggest recommendations as well. And back to the same point where Amy, when I met you and Kathleen Martin kind of took me under your wing back then. And I feel like that made such a huge difference. You made sure that I was able to, I was getting in and I was 23, 24 years old, fresh out of college. And you guys were helping me navigate, don't stay out too late and party and be taken seriously. And I think that was one of the biggest things that helped me in my early career was to have that guidance and have, just those role models. And I do want to talk about Kathleen Martin as well. So she's with CompTIA now, and she's leading the Advancing Women in Technology Interest Group, which I just became an advisor for. And so I definitely wanted to mention it to you three. If you guys are not part of that interest group, take a look at it. It's an online forum that's dedicated to discussing issues, challenges, and opportunities for women in technology. And anybody is welcome to join on the forum. It's free to join, and you can share blogs, discuss whatever topic you want, the events and everything like that. So Kathleen, just reached out to me the other week and asked if I wanted to be an advisor. And that's the kind of support that, that I've had from her for the last 17 years, we are better together. We all lift each other up. And that's one of the reasons why I love the channel, and especially the group of women in the channel that, our little tribe. So.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Robin. I think that's I get this question a lot about how do I find a mentor? Because, it's easy to say, go get a mentor. And then the question's like, well, how do I find one? So it's things like this, like you sharing that with us and people sharing communities they found or other mentors they found. But then two, I think my advice would be on that is to not underestimate any relationship. So talk to people at work. See, you never know what it'll turn into, what will fruition, and whether that's 5 months of conversations or it becomes a lifelong friendship where you continue to talk. It's important to keep networking, to meet different people. A lot of my mentors I've had at companies, and then I've kept in contact with them when I've left, and those have become lifelong mentors. And it's been it becomes bidirectional. I don't know if you all have noticed this, but over time, when you have a mentor, it ends up becoming a two-way thing where I've been able to help them with things as well, which is obviously nice to be able to feel that you're giving back to the person that's given you so much. But I love that you share that, because I think it's important to share different ways to join other communities.
Yeah. And Jennifer, I wanted you to talk too about what else you have going on. So I love that, you know, you've talked about your past experience and what led you to where you are now. But you also, you know, please share. And it seems like you know, as a woman, like, we want to have it all. And it sounds like you have multiple things going on. So talk about your other business that you do.
Yeah, so I'm only part-time with Solutions Granted as the VP of Business Development. I've got a business on the side that is growing very quickly, and I'm teaching IT companies how to sell cybersecurity. So I call myself the Cybersecurity Sherpa, and I am a sales trainer. So I do one-on-one consulting around packaging and pricing and sales and mindset. And then in 2021, I'm launching a full sales course, if you will. It's not online. It's not downloaded to your server. It's going to be live, where I am going to teach everything I know about sales. What is prospecting? What is a playbook? What is, how do I overcome the slump? What, that dreaded slump? How do I overcome objections? It's everything I know about sales baked into it's probably going to be a 10-week course for MSPs. And I love the channel. I love what IT companies are doing to support small businesses, which is really the backbone of our global economy. Believe that strongly. But one of the biggest challenges we have is that generally, this is a broad brushstroke, but generally the individuals that are running the businesses are phenomenal technicians, and they're just not great salespeople. And they have to either learn that skill or hire someone to do that skill. And I believe for most companies, the owner is going to be the best salesperson because they're the most passionate. So they have to learn that skill. And there are certainly options out there for companies to learn sales from. But from some of the market research I've done, people want to learn from me. So I feel a bit of an obligation to put this together. And I love what I'm doing. I've got a Facebook community, and all of this keeps me plenty busy.
Awesome. Well, I would love for all of you to, when this does get posted, to share your LinkedIn page, share your company pages, and just, this is a great way for other people in the channel to get to know you, your companies better. So after this posted, please feel free to connect on that as well. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, ladies, again for joining me today. I love just how supportive all of us are for advancing women in the tech industry, and how passionate everybody is for that. So thank you. I really do appreciate you guys taking the time today and coming on.
Thanks for launching this and the opportunity. This is a great idea. A lot of fun.
I know. I can't wait till we're all in the same room together and we can sit and have a coffee or sit and have a glass of wine together. But in the meantime, we'll have to stick with virtual happy hours and virtual channel coffee catch-up.
Yeah. Robin, it's been so fun to work with you over the years. I really appreciate it. And, watching you grow. Where did we meet? You were at Level Platforms?
Yeah, it was when I was at Level Platforms. And I believe you were a partner of ours.
I was.
But yeah, it was through Dan Wensley, and I think we probably met at at an exchange conference, probably in Houston. I believe that was my first one, and I think I met you right off the bat. But yeah, and that was probably back in 2003.
Well, I'll give you a nod, Jennifer. When you turn 50, you really get comfortable in your skin. I'll tell you that.
Wait, that's going to be fabulous.
40.
I'm so excited now.
That's something to look forward to.
Excellent. I love it.
Thank you so much, Robin. This is fun.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Thank you, ladies. Have a great rest of your afternoon and a great weekend.
Thanks, you too.